You know how fast you were going?
What? How fast you were going?
I don't know. 10?
8.
Be advised, this is an explicit podcast. If you're easily offended, get your panties twisted into a knot. Leave now. Run to your safe space. Get your little cloth for your tears. All the opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and his guest and do not reflect the opinions of any local or government agency. Welcome, Motor Cop Chronicles podcast. I'm your host, Iceman, as usual. Just get the housekeeping out the way. If you want a great cigar, go to mypatriotcigar.com. Use the promo code MotorCop15. Get 15% off your order for anything $100 or more. I believe they still have free shipping. It's a, USA company, small businessman. Premium cigars, I'll go check them out. Also, if you want any Motor Cop merch, you can go to the Etsy store or go to motorcopchronicles.com and click on the links there, t-shirts, all the other stuff. And trust me, people, I'm not making any money on it. Just trying to get the logo out there. So it's cheap, dirt cheap, and go check it out. If you'd like more Motor Cop Chronicles, extra episodes, videos, text messages, all kind of stuff. I'm real active on Patreon. You can join that up 3 different tiers, or you can try it 7 days for free, and I'll shout them out at the end, all the crew members. But you can check that also. And if not, I understand times are tight, and we'll keep putting out the free stuff. But further ado, we do have a guest today. And we'll let him introduce himself. He's right here. And I had to cut it off. We were having a good conversation before we even started recording. How you doing?
I'm doing well, sir. How's it going for you today?
Oh, it was a long day at work again. Getting closer to that. Go ahead and tell the people who you are, what you did.
All right. My name's James, and I'm down in the Florida area, down in the central part of Florida there. I recently retired from law enforcement. I was just about at 24 years when I walked out, and kind of had transitioned to that civilian side of the house, doing some different things, still kind of supporting law enforcement and what I'm doing through technology nowadays. So, I'm pleased to be with you here today.
Well, I appreciate it. So you worked the streets for a while. Everybody had to work the streets for a while.
I did the street thing, did the FTO thing. Kind of my background running through my law enforcement time was I did that. I ran through the school resource officer thing for a long time, and then I transitioned into criminal investigations. Where before too long in there, I did special victims. So I was working those sexual offenses and the crimes against children type stuff for a number of years, and then right at the tail end. I needed to wind down those trial schedules and things like that. So I had an opportunity to get on as part of a crime center program with my organization that we were creating. And that's kind of what got me in the technology route there. So got to get into that and, set up a whole new kind of work environment that was going on with the group I worked with. And that led me to kind of where I went when I retired as well.
So that had to be, I never done that. Everybody's like, I've been a sergeant, over a motor division and stuff before, and I've been a motor cop for like 20 plus years. Everybody's like, well, why wouldn't you go detective? I never, as you know, being law enforcement, some people like doing certain things. I always like working traffic. I like investigating crashes and stuff. I could see what kind of toll it could take on somebody, though, working sex crime, especially with children, because I was talking to somebody recently. They're doing the internet crimes, like to catch a predator stuff, but with the department, actually in law enforcement. And I was like, I told them straight up. I mean, I was honest. I said, I don't think I could do what you do, talking and having these dudes talk nasty and knowing that's what if it wasn't me, it would be a young child they were doing that to. I said, I know how I am. I'd have a hard time keeping my hands to myself.
Yeah. And yeah, that stuff it'll rattle your cage. As a matter of fact, one of the gentlemen that I teach with on the outside, and because I still kind of have a hand in kind of educating people, that are working those cases. And I remember early on that first year I was starting to do that stuff, and it wasn't so much the ones that were like the virtual ones that I worked, but it would be the ones where they were actually victims. That I realized they rattled my cage early on. And I remember going to a senior detective during that time who had done it for well over a decade at that point. And I asked him, I said, hey man, I said, can you tell me kind of how you deal with this stuff when it starts rattling your cage inside, kind of how do you handle things? And, his response to me back during that time was, hey, some people just learn to kind of contend with it and others just end up not working these cases. So it was a learning experience about how to kind of cope with that stress that kind of comes with working those sorts of things. And kind of learning how to maybe kind of treat it as professional product and try to distance yourself as much as you possibly could from it personally to be able to work those cases effectively for those folks, really.
I know how you just disassociate myself. But I worked a crash. Well, I say a crash. I worked a fatality one time, and it involved a 4-year-old. Well, my child at the time was a 4-year-old at the house too, which was a boy, and this was a boy. Yeah. And that one kind of rattled me, and I had to. And he was accidentally run over by his own mom. So that's why I said you got to have some. How I want to put it. All them ghosts that are floating around up in your head there.
Yeah, and I guess you got to learn to have your outlets. You got to have your healthy outlets that balance your life, so it's not just work. So that stuff isn't the constant thing that's occupying your headspace. And I think that's probably how I kind of got through a lot of stuff like that. Talking about that time, but yeah, there's not an easy answer, just like what you did, because you're still going to always bear some of that emotion that you took on from anybody that you cared about. That's a lot of the reason that everybody does these jobs, because they care about people, right?
Yeah, well, it's a cliche, but that's where I started a long time ago. Kind of changed. Yeah, you still married?
Yeah, I am.
One.
So, well, I have a second, but it's been a long time with this second.
Job related?
Nope.
Really? Because I talk about that sometimes. How cops getting divorce rates horrible.
Yeah, I definitely went outside my box when I found her, and she's been a little spot of gold that's been in my life since that time.
You lucked out. So I tell everybody. This is a job. It's a job and a career. It's not your life. Because once you leave a department, 6 months, they might remember your name. A year afterwards, they don't know who you are no more.
Which brings up a good point. I remembered early on being told, like I can remember when I first started my career and people telling me on the training side of the house, you need to make friends outside of your organization that aren't officers. You need to have a balance of people. It's good to be friends with the people you work with, but it's also good to have a healthy balance of people outside of that too. Because when you walk out, yeah, you're right. It's kind of different. I once read an expression, and it really is true, and I think it probably applies to a lot of people that do this line of work. You'll miss the clowns, but you won't miss the circus.
Oh, I totally understand what you're talking about. Because I switched departments 7 years ago. I stayed 23 and a half years with one department, and it was time for me to go. And I've been at this other department, and I'll finish my career there. Even though the other department asked me to come back twice, I respectfully declined. I was happy where I was now at, But it's like after you leave, it's like they have people there now. I spent 23 and a half years of my career over there. I was the last original motorcycle cop when that division got started in the department and stuff like that. I FTO'd a guy that's the lieutenant colonel over there right now. I FTO'd. The guy that's the sheriff where I used to work, he rode with me his first 2 days out of the jail. So, I did a lot. But it's been 7 years. Besides people that worked with me, they don't know who I am. Yeah. I don't know, 90% of the people that work there now. So.
Yeah.
That's what I tell everybody. How many? I mean, how many people? How long you been retired now?
Not even a year at this point, so it's only been a few months.
Okay, so a few months. Do you still got old work buddies call you, or it was, and then it started drifting off?
So yeah, I still have a handful that check in with me, but the people that you talk to day in and day, that you were used to talking to day in and day out, that stuff just kind of goes away, you know. And a lot of times, I think you shoot the breeze with everybody, and it's a matter you just happen to be around them, and then when you take that away, then that stuff just doesn't come up. Like the phone calls come up because a lot of times you got a work related thing that you need to discuss. Hey, can you cover an overtime shift? Or you're talking about this case or that case, and then other conversation creeps in naturally for phone calls. And yeah, that stuff kind of goes away. So that's where I kind of feel fortunate having transitioned to a job. While it might not be law enforcement, it still supports law enforcement. So I got that engagement not only with people that I used to work with, but I also have some engagement with people in other police departments across the nation that I'll work with on things that I'm doing for them.
So I tell some of these younger guys, look, the retired guys that help train you or you worked with, your partner. I got a buddy of mine. He's been retired, 4 or 5 years now. I make sure I call him. I try to call him at least once a week. I don't get to see him too often, but he knows I'm going to call him at least. And he said out of everybody, all these people we worked with so close all them years, it's like me and 2 other people actually still talk to him or call and just see how he's doing. Other than that, nobody.
Yeah, it's tough. You almost wish that, and I think there's some places that probably do a better job of this than others, but a informal retirees association or something like that, or something, I think it would probably help a lot of people out, but I don't know how many actually kind of make some sort of effort at that, right?
They need like a VFW hall for cops.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, I think that's what they need to do. And then, at least you're hanging out with some like-minded people. Because I can tell you what, it's like, I don't want to be one of them guys, like I said, I know a lot of guys that retired and they're back not doing exactly the same thing, but they got a badge back on their chest and a gun belt on. It's like, dude, you spent all these years retired, and I just talked to one. I'm like, dude, you just went over to another department, and you're not out there pounding the streets or nothing, but you're still in uniform, and you still, I mean, you could have just stayed where the hell you were at. You were a lieutenant where you were at, and you nobody now.
Yep. I think that's probably, to some extent, I bet we see that happen in a lot of different places all across the nation.
Well, at least I have my podcast and stuff. I can do that, put more effort into it once I'm retired, because believe it or not, it takes a hell of a lot of time with me. People don't realize how much effort goes into, getting guests, setting up when I do live shows on Wednesdays, and just everything, social media.
Yeah.
I mean, I never had a Facebook until I started podcasting about 3 years ago. I had to learn how to use Facebook. It's like, because you got to have social media. It's crazy. Also, you said you were you said you were an SRO. You said you were an SRO.
I did that for close to a decade out of my career, to be honest with you. So I did it for a while.
You like really enjoyed it. Well, first of all, were you with big kids, or you with the littles?
So I tell people all the time, my kids are grown now, but I kind of grew up with my kids. So I was around that elementary school resource officer during that time. They were in elementary school in an adjacent county. And then I moved to a middle school, and then I went to high schools and kind of bounced around. So I had a good spread of years across all those school environments, I would say. Because it was a very rewarding time, but it gets easy, I think, if you're not careful, to get complacent in those kind of jobs. You get in a routine just like the teachers do, with a schedule and things like that. And I think when I was ready to walk away from that, I knew that at the time I was like, I could just kind of feel I was really in a routine, and I didn't want to become that complacent cop that, something went bad one day because you got too used to your routine. And I knew I was getting way too comfortable. And so I started seeking out new opportunities at that point to kind of keep things fresh for me.
They've had me I'm in motors, but out where I work at, we're a big department, and I'm kind of like a catch-all person. So I was playing relief SRO at one point too. They were shorthanded, and I found out quick I'm really good with the little kids, kindergartens, elementary school kids. I told them, they said, well, I said, because they had one school that would actually request me, and my supervisor, like, you went over, why'd you go over there and do such a damn good job? Now you done screwed you. I was like, what I'm supposed to do a shitty job. I was doing what I was supposed to do. But what I'm saying though is I actually enjoyed the younger kids because I have grandkids and stuff like that. I couldn't work with them high school kids on a daily basis because I was running down there. They call to break up a fight, and I'm going down the hall. I'm telling myself the whole time, don't skull drag this is a kid. Don't skull drag nobody. You can't do that. I mean, don't make stuff. I'm telling myself I've been a street cop, all my career. And it's like, and I'm an old street cop, so I'm very handsy. I'm very hands on. We never had tasers and all that stuff. You either put your hands on somebody, sprayed somebody, or hit them with a stick. I mean, worst case, you'd have to use your firearm. But, so I'm still, I'll snatch a hold of somebody without thinking about it. And these, I call them baby cops. These baby cops will look at me like, oh my God, he just grabbed that dude. He didn't even, because they want to tase everybody. They gave me a taser, and I'm like, I certified everything. I'm like, man, this thing pinching. I got enough shit on my gun belt. It's in my unit. I don't even carry them. I've never tased nobody. I mean, I'm like, I just put my hands on you. And these new cops are like scared to put their hands on anybody now. I don't know what they're teaching them in academy, but.
Yeah, you got to be balanced with all your tools. That's for sure. I think that lets you kind of make your choice of what's the right thing for the situation you're in.
Well, my thing is I'd rather spray you because that spray is going to work about 99% of the time. It's going to blind you. Tasers are actually down to like 20%, from 40% to 20% effective rate because everybody's running around in hoodies.
Yeah, I know they make a bunch of different kind of the projectiles that come out of those things, depending on what you're wearing too. I guess all those things can probably have an effect on how well it's going to work for you and what kind of climate you're working in. And I'm thinking about spray, man. I remember every time I ever sprayed somebody, I probably got about as much of me as I did anybody else, it seemed.
I was a chemical weapons instructor, so I'd been hit so many times with it. I mean, I knew what it was going to do, so always downwind. You always got to stay upwind. We actually are going to the Taser 10 now. I don't know if you've seen those, but it has 10 shots, one taser. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's just crazy how much technology across the board, not only with Taser, but just everywhere, is just really kind of changing the whole job.
They need to come out with net guns. This big net.
I heard something about this. I haven't seen them in action though.
It's a big net gun. I just wanted to shoot a net out and grab them.
Like the old Batman thing or something like that. I can't remember what to call that on.
Since I know you were SRO and stuff a lot of your career, I always ask everybody, but when I ask you, I got a co-host of mine. He was reserved for like 10 or 12 years, working for free. And the only call he never got to experience was, you ever been in one of them calls, like when you're a beat cop and it's like, you get out and there's some naked person there and you're like, oh my God, I got to deal with this naked person. Did you ever have a naked call?
Man, I'm trying to think. I remember being at the jail one time and somebody else bringing in one that was like that. But I don't know that I actually had one that was like that, where I had to go deal with them, where they were like emotionally disturbed or something like that. So yeah, that one didn't run. I don't remember running into one like that. So.
That's something you'd probably remember if you had to deal with, Yeah, I had a guy that was on here one time. He actually, he had a subject with a very large male appendage that happened to be naked in the road, was chasing him with his Johnson in his hand. He was like, man, I thought it was like a baseball bat. I thought he was going to try to hit me with his dick. I was one. I was like, that's a new one on me. Never had that happen before.
Yeah.
So you never had I'm thinking you had a fairly good career as SRO. You never made the news or nothing for like slamming their kids or nothing like that, huh?
No, nothing negative. Thank goodness. I had my share of arrests that you have to do in those situations and too. But I always felt fortunate because I remember there was one kid one time. He was kind of a troubled youth about that middle school age years back. That he got into a fight. He ended up resisting during that time when I was trying to get him under control and stuff like that. But I had enough of rapport with him that even though it might have looked kind of ugly getting him under control and stuff like that, the conversation we were able to have after he was able to collect himself, he was remorseful for the way he behaved, and it worked out kind of good. So, looking back in those situations, I know there's a lot more school resource officers with all the school shootings that have happened, over the last several years. But, the more you are able to build those rapport with those kids, and hopefully the times you got to take actions, it doesn't escalate to something where they think that you were treating them wrong or something like that. You get to have that dialogue with them that kind of explains things.
Well, the other school resource officer, once they got back, he was asking me what I was doing because I never sat in the school resource office. I mean, I can't do nothing in there. But like, I didn't realize this school went from kindergarten to 12th grade. So this was just for me, after the bell would ring, for me to walk the interior of the school and check all the doors to make sure they were locked would take me an hour to walk the inside perimeter. I told them I needed a Segway, but the school was that big, so they would start feeding these kids. And where do you have a lot of fights at? In cafeterias and stuff like that. So I'd be up in the cafeteria a lot of the time too. But I always would sit down every day and eat with a different class. From the kindergarten class all the way up to the high school classes. I would just pick a table and go squeeze in with these kids. So I'd make them talk to me so I could get a little, and some of them are quite loose-lipped, They will tell on each other. Like, they looked at one and said, "She's shoplifting." I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "It's down at Walmart." I mean, hush, So I mean, yeah, but I didn't. Other guys like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "What? You can't do your job sitting in the office." I'm walking down the hall giving kids high five and stuff like that. They thought I was crazy. Yeah. But I've also always been a big advocate. Even when I was FTO of community policing, I taught all my rookies, we'd get out at the local parks during the summer and we'd go walk around, get out and walk. I'd see a whole bunch of people in their yard barbecuing. I'd pull them side the road and get out and walk in their yard and ask them what they were doing, ask them how they were doing. They're looking and say, "Well, nothing to make college. I'm making sure y'all don't need anything. Everything's good in the neighborhood, stuff like just have a general conversation." And they, introduce myself, let them know what my name is. They know so I have a name. I'm not just a badge driving by. I told everybody, I said, "Roll your window down, get out and talk to people. You can't drive through neighborhoods and just give everybody the stink eye, because trust me, there's a whole bunch of good people in bad neighborhoods."
Oh yeah. I can remember, being on early in my career, and it's just tell you how some people do a great job at that. I can remember we had a court and we were looking for somebody. I can't even remember what we were investigating. Everybody was lights up, but I remember, somebody just hollering out from a house, "Hey, is that old?" And hollering out somebody's nickname that everybody knew that's who that was on the squad. No, that's not him. But he had enough of a reputation where they wanted to reach out and just say, "Hey, is that who it is out there?" type of thing. So
yeah, I mean,
it's a long way.
It's nice, you work in the local fair, and local kids from the neighborhood run up to you and know your name and want to give you a hug and all that stuff because they're not afraid of you. That's the point of it. I said, "No, you don't want the kids afraid of it," because a lot of times you don't want them to think the only thing they ever seen the popo come around is hauling their daddy off in handcuffs or something. Trying to get these younger kids to do that. This younger generation. If you're a younger cop and you listen to this, please. I think they need to put it more in the academy. They need to work more on the communication skills, because this younger generation. I don't know how old you are, but I'm almost 53 years old. I didn't come up with cell phones and computers and stuff like that. We actually had to communicate with people. If I wanted to talk to somebody on the phone, I actually figured I had to call them. I don't, I still hate texting. My daughter one time, my daughter's almost 30, or she is 30. This was years ago though, but I called her and she texted me and asked what I wanted. I called her and I called her back and she answered. I said, if I wanted to text you, I'd have texted you. Damn it! I said, if I call you, answer the damn phone. Don't text me. Because to me, so much stuff can be misconstrued in a text. You could be saying something to me, and I read it with the wrong attitude or something like that, and I think you're being an ass, and you wasn't, because I can't hear no emotion when I'm reading something. So I think that's a lot of the problems today is these baby cops don't know how to verbally communicate like we used to.
And it's like a generational thing. You think about it. So we're not too far apart in age, just for clarification. We probably grew up with a lot of similarities where you were probably kicked out of the house and you didn't come home till the light was on the street, right?
Good old days, drinking out the water hose.
Yeah, stuff like that. And I think that, the world just changed so much from the time we grew up into with technology and people trusting people and things like that. And I think people were just so much more sheltered that a lot of those skills that, kind of got built naturally in your social environments just weren't kind of done as much as they were. So I think it's taken a little bit longer to kind of attain those skills sometimes in life, depending on how you grew up, right?
Probably. I tell everybody to look at us, I was like 8 and got my first shotgun, we're 10 years old. My mom's like, where y'all going with that shotgun? And I have like a 20 gauge. She's like, where you going with that shotgun? It's like, in the woods. All right, remember, don't shoot each other with it. Okay, and we'd leave, like, with live rounds. With a shotgun, it's like, just don't shoot each other with it. And that was it. We'd be gone all day.
Oh yeah,
we massacring birds or whatever else. And it's like it was just nothing. Everybody's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it wasn't nothing. We had guns in the house. I got my first gun when I was 8 years old. I can't remember. I was probably 1 when I got a pocket knife, for all I know. It's just like,
yeah." I get what you're talking about too with like the texting. Like even with my own adult children, sometimes it's like you have to kind of let them know that, like, especially when they're relating to grandparents or somebody else in life, that how much more in-person contact might kind of play in that situation. That a grandparent, how much they value that actual phone conversation versus a text of happy birthday, right?
Oh, definitely, yeah. My daughters don't get it. I got to get a text, Happy Father's Day. I'm like, yeah, that's nice, thanks. Appreciate it. At least called and told me to screw off or something, but yeah, whatever. But yeah, I said this on another one. They don't even write full words out no more. You know how long it took me? I'm like, I asked somebody finally, I said, why is everybody smushing stuff? They're like, what are you talking about? I said, smush. They all putting smush on stuff. They're like, what? I said, smush, SMH, smush. I said, what the hell is that? They like, you say, that's shaking my head. I said, no, shaking my head, shaking my head. That says smush. I didn't know what the hell it was. I'm like, I don't know what the smush is, And you're from Florida, hurricanes and stuff. We had a hurricane come through one time. It was one of them bad ones. We were out of power for a week and no cell phone service. I was going to work. I'm like, this is freaking great. I got no phone. It's like back in the day. Go to work, nobody bother me. And it's like my stepdaughter was like I'm like, what the hell's wrong with you? I'm like, she's like, it's gonna mess up my Instagram story. I'm like, what the hell? What is that? You're having upset because of some what? I said, you're not gonna die. I told somebody, I said, if we wouldn't have hurt the new generation, we just shut the internet down, turn all the cell phones off. They will die. Just completely, they will fall out and die.
Well, I'm convinced it's taken a hold enough of people in our generation too. It'd be a tough thing for a lot of people to let that smartphone go nowadays. Or
I have and stuff. But like I said, I was out for a week over here, we didn't have none of that. Computers were down, all that stuff. I actually enjoyed the peace. It's like, like I said, I'm older than Google. I remember we didn't have. I remember when I got cable. We didn't get cable till like I was in high school around here, and we had 3 channels, 4 on a clear night. Kids don't say go outside and turn the antenna. Just hold it right there, boy, while I watch the news. Because some people say,
red tip oil, all that stuff.
They're like, well, I get all the time. It's like, you can't call people boy. I'm like, what? It's like, because that can be construed as racist. I'm like, why? He's a boy and he's young. What you want me to call him? I said, I grew up, I thought my name was Boy until I was like 14 years old. Because I thought my name was Hey Boy. Because that's all my dad used to say. Hey boy, do this, and hey boy, do that. My name was Hey Boy. Okay? I can't help that's the way I talk. It's nothing, not being rude to the mind, it's the way I talk. When you grow up and you think your name's Hey Boy, my sister was Hey Girl.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you were a city boy or not. You grew up in a city?
I was a military brat, so I kind of migrated south. I lived in New York when I was a young kid, and out on Long Island, and kind of
thank God you got out of there.
Down in Florida, and did some Air Force time before I got out, and became a law enforcement officer in Central Florida. So that got kind of a little bit of a traveling history for me, I guess, in my background.
Pretty sure I told somebody if I was young enough, I would move to Florida just to try to work for Grady Judd. I love that man.
He's pretty popular down here.
All the sheriffs were like him. Sheriff I work for now is great, but he's just great. I think he watches out for his people. Do you work for a sheriff's office, a police department?
I work for a municipality in the Central Florida area, so it was good to me. And but when my time was up and it was a time to switch gears, I was ready for it.
So what's this new business that you walked
What's
into?
that?
The new business, once you retired, you went right back to work.
So I went to work for a software company. It has some technology that they sell to law enforcement, and essentially it ties into that whole. I mentioned the Crime Center program that I worked in, and so that product is used a lot in those kind of environments. And to me, I kind of watched how technology really kind of changed how we did the job day in and day out for the better. It made people more efficient at doing their work, and enough of a believer of it that I, when there was an opportunity to go out the door and kind of share that kind of passion that I learned to appreciate, I was ready to do it.
Yeah, it's kind of like you hear a lot of people complain about the LPRs. That's some license plate recognition cameras for any civilians that don't know. A lot of people gripe about them. They have them fixed on poles in certain locations. They got mobile ones. They got ones that are mounted on vehicles. But it basically, the ones, let's say you got one mounted on the interstate, every car that goes by there, it reads their license plate and runs it through.
Yep.
And people say, "Oh, that's Big Brother watching." Well, if you're not doing nothing wrong, why would it's not? They're not digging in your personal life. I mean, but I can't explain. We have them out where in my jurisdiction, and do you know how many times that those things have helped us catch a homicide suspect or kidnapping people or people that are running from these big time warrants and stuff like that? They are great because you can track them going down the interstate. We found a missing truck driver like that. I don't know if he's trying to steal the 18-wheeler or not, but the company called and their truck was missing. So we got on the LPRs and we found the truck, where it wasn't supposed to be at. But if it wasn't for those, we'd never even know where to start looking.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, I always remember the first success story that we had when we put our first 4 LPRs out on main thoroughfares through the area that I worked. And I was working in that crime center environment during that time. And I'll remember we had a guy who was filling up ATMs. And he got robbed, and we were trying to figure out who did it. And we knew a description of the car, and then we retraced his route, and we had cameras in the area where we retraced his route, and we saw a picture of the suspect vehicle following him from one location to another. And lo and behold, thank goodness, the one that he got robbed at, we went through that LPR, went looking through all the cars that we went through, and we found 2 to 3 vehicles that were close to that description of what we thought might be it. Turn that information over to the robbery detective. Within a couple of days, they had that case solved just through that. So, I mean, they're a big thing. And when it comes to kind of addressing community concerns, I remember we actually pulled statistics at the time, and we pulled out of how many months the millions, thousands, I don't know what it was. It was an exuberant amount of actual reads that the LPRs had collected, but how many of them actually alerted in police vehicles to say it's a stolen plate, a stolen vehicle? You want to guess at what that percentage was?
I say 1%.
Pretty close. It was just over 0.5%.
I mean, because like I said, we have them, and I don't have it. Don't alert me, but we have supervisors and in dispatch. We have them, so they'll tell us, "Hey, we just got an alert for a stolen plate right here." Because it pops that quick. We'll be on the lookout for it, stuff like that. I'm gonna tell you, it don't happen that often. Every now and then we'll get one. But it's not as much as people think it is. And it's not like somebody's just sitting there saying, "Oh, look, there's Jimbo right there. He don't have insurance on." No, we don't do that. We got plenty enough else to do. This is stuff that's like in the NCIC computer and stuff like that. And it does help. I mean, it can show patterns, like especially with these big drug runners and stuff. If you got people coming, from Texas to somewhere else, and it's the same car around the same time every time, it kind of starts to set up a pattern. I don't care if you do travel for a living. You're not going to be coming through some, BFE, Louisiana, every Thursday around the same time for a month, once a week. That kind of like, okay, where is this person going? It might alert to something like patterns and stuff like that, but it's not going to alert, Granny Smith going to work every day or something like that. It's like out-of-state plates and stuff that people I guess everybody just freaks out about it. And let me tell you what, people are freaking out. You don't think some of these stores you go into or banks and stuff, they don't have facial recognition crap and stuff, that they already got you. They already got, all your crap's probably already in a database somewhere. I know mine is.
I'm always shocked when I hear about a member of law enforcement who kind of goes into exactly what you're saying, and they think of it as like Big Brother type of thing, and they don't want to embrace a program like that. And I'm thinking, how sad, how many cases are not solved because we just don't have that little lead that would be generated from a license plate recognition service, right?
All right. Well, the only like technology that I don't like, and I still don't like, is cameras that gives you tickets, mails you a ticket, or the red light cameras, and everybody's like, well, what's the difference? There's a big difference, because to me, a ticket writing camera that takes a picture, or a red light camera, any camera system that takes a picture of your license plate and mails you to you, people's like, oh, it saves lives. Well, some of the government people will, oh, it saves lives. I'm like, whose life did it save? It didn't save nobody's life. I'm like, that's a money generator. Because when you were when that license plate, when they took a picture of you doing 100 miles an hour, did anybody stop you from doing 100 miles an hour? No, you continue doing 100 miles an hour. Same thing when you run the red light or stuff like that. It's like, no, all that is money generating. When I pull you over, I done stopped you from doing that action. I'm not pulling people over because I want to write them tickets and cost them money. I want to pull them over because they're doing something reckless and I want them to go down the road and get killed later or kill somebody else. So those are just for-profit money generators right there. They don't save lives. I've seen data where it says the red light cameras actually have caused more wrecks because people they know that's there. Like, oh shit, it's turning yellow, and they lock their brakes up, and then you got 3 people piling in because they don't want to get a ticket mailed to them. So
yeah, I wonder. I don't know. I mean, here's the thing. I think just like you're saying, it's a revenue generator thing for the most part. But I wonder if there's any statistics that anybody could actually show that an intersection like that it's been reduced, like the accidents have been reduced from them or not. I at least haven't heard of any, if there is.
No, and like I said, especially the ones that give you a speeding ticket. Nobody stopped you from speeding. To me, when I make a law enforcement officer makes a traffic stop, which I'm a traffic cop, it's because you're doing something. I stopped you from doing that action.
Yeah.
The other one, I'm just continuing down the road doing my action. It didn't solve nothing.
Yeah. So I was in the Air Force. I was a traffic accident investigator for a while. I was stationed over in Germany, right? And so German police over there, they do a lot of that, set up the box on the side of the road. And that's what they do. They grab a picture of your front plate. It zooms in, takes a picture of the person driving for the speeding ticket and stuff like that. And I remember we would have like base housing because I was working law enforcement, and but it was open for anybody to drive through. It didn't matter if you're American or not, some of those roads. And so you could stop the cars that were American plated, but you couldn't do anything with a German citizen's car. So we'd have clearly what was like a German plated vehicle coming down. It was exceeding the speed limit very fast. I remember we used to take our little, you remember the 35 millimeter cameras that people used to document scenes with and stuff like that?
Yeah.
We would take the flash out of the camera box, you know, when we were doing speed enforcement. We would tap it, just tap it so it flashed through the windshield as if we were taking pictures of people speeding. It would be funny to kind of watch them kind of jam on their brakes.
We used to, me and I had my old partner, we had got ourselves on a handheld, but back then they were still corded, so we went and found this cord. It was like a 50-foot extension cord we could plug it in for, and we had it run out the window and stuff. We'd sit out, we'd bark back up into these trees and put some lawn chairs out and run radar and shit. People were like, "What the hell's wrong with y'all?" I was like, "Nothing. I can get tired of standing up for a while." But
you got to find ways to have fun here and there.
Oh, like I said, some of these, like I said, baby cops, we used to have fun back in the day. Of course, I told the kids, I said, we didn't have, GPS and maps and shit like that. We had a dispatcher say, "Yeah, you need to turn by that tree that got struck by lightning back in 1971. That had them possums in. They got fried." It's like, I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. I wasn't, I'm not quite that old, but that's what we would get. I'm driving around. I mean, and then we didn't have portables where I started at, or nothing. So I mean, it's like I said, y'all have names. It's like we're sending you back up. What was that?
Yeah, it's crazy to think of how much it changed. That's how I started out with you didn't have computers in the car. You had a map book. And that was your way to try to figure out where you were and where you were going.
Was it hand drawn too?
I think those are skills. What's that?
Our map. We had a map book, but it was hand drawn by like Cletus and Dispatch. That drove around with a pen and paper. It's like, all right, it looks like that right there. Well, yeah, that's always our map book.
I was a little more fortunate than that. we had ours professionally printed at least.
No, our shit was like hand drawn by Cletus at the jail. I said, yeah, but great times. Of course, I will say, people wasn't shooting each other left and right back then neither. If we got a call of a fight, it was a fist fight, and you didn't have to worry about nobody pulling a knife out. You didn't have to worry about nobody pulling a gun out and shooting each other. I mean, hell.
Yeah.
When I was in high school, we used to have guns on the back rack at school in the parking lot because we'd go hunting after class. We'd carry pocket knives and stuff.
Can do that now.
Oh no, they would have a whole lockdown going on with that. And I mean, like I said, we had pocket knives. But nobody ever thought about shooting each other now. I don't know what changed with that.
Yeah, and people definitely take it serious. I remember my SRO days, we had a tip about a kid that was supposed to bring a gun to school the following day. So we all got up really early, set up a team to kind of look for this kid coming into the school. And sure enough, we see him coming down, and we run him down in the school, get him on the ground, and we think he's got this gun because it's exactly as it was described to us. Everything was going down. And we're like, where is it? Where is it? He's like, it's in my bag. And so we're thinking, oh, this is legit. He's got a gun. No, it was a dime bag of weed. That's all he had.
Kid freaking out. Crazy. Well, I was out of school, was it junior high? This was umpteen years ago when my kids were still in junior high, and they both in their 30. I forget why I was there, and this kid had like a Swiss Army knife, and he pulled it out and was using a fork or something at lunch. Well, they had a shit fit. I might have got called over there for it. I don't know. But I get there and they suspended this kid. I'm like, well, what do y'all I mean, well, he had a knife. I said, was he cutting somebody? Well, no, he was using a fork, but you can't have a knife. You could kill somebody with it. I remember I looked at this assistant principal. I said, you realize I picked up a pencil? I said, I could jab this through your eyeballs into your brain and kill you with it, right? I said, so this is a weapon right here. I could kill you with this number 2 pencil right now. Especially as sharp as it is. Boom, right through your eye like a grape. And he was like, they looking at me like I'm crazy. I'm like, so we got to get rid of pencils at school. And I put it down. I said, we'll just have the kids bite the tips of their fingers off and write in blood. How's that? I said he was using a damn fork. This is stupid. Well, we have zero tolerance. I said, y'all have 0 sense. I think I got called in on that too, because that's why I never got hired in sergeant. I got this zero filter, you know. I mean, when you're on a burglary scene and the lady's like, they stole my diet pills, and you're looking at her and it's like, well, they wasn't working, so you're all right, because she's like 800 pounds. I mean, the diet pills were not working at all. I mean, you get in trouble. You know, like, you can't say that to people. Like, well, it's true.
Yeah, you definitely you got to know how to have your in today's day and age.
Is that true? Well, I have learned through the years. I was helping out not too long ago with at the courthouse in front, doing that security at the front door with all the X-ray machines and shit like that. This one guy's like, God, you could not work up here every day with us. You get us fired. He's like, I don't know how you do it. He's like, but I've been watching you all day up here. He's like, I was like, it doesn't take many years of skills. He says, you have insulted like 50% of the people that have come through here, and they have all smiled and laughed like you were their best friend. I said, you learn through the years how, from getting in so much trouble, how to insult people, but they don't even realize you were making fun of them or nothing like that. He's like, well, you definitely got it down. Because I'd say something, he was like, because he was getting it. Like, he was like, oh my God, he just say that.
It's a special skill.
I was like, yeah, I did perfect that skill. He's like, no. And I said, never push.
I was never that guy. I'd be that guy that if I said something, that's the one got reported.
like this one woman after, I had people coming through the body X-ray machine because they got to stand like this and stuff. And that's, like, to me, it looked like an angry rooster, like with its wings out. And I'm like, look, it works better if you stand like we call it the angry chicken. I said, but it helps if you go, bark. And I'd actually get some people to cluck like a chicken while they were in there and shit. He's like, I can't. He's like, stop. He's like, I can't believe people fall for that shit, because I had people clucking like chickens and stuff like that. They had some woman come up to me and say, do you just want to come here and touch my titties? He's like, did you know that woman? I said, I never seen her before in my life, but I ain't touching them. He's like, I thought y'all knew each other. I'm like, oh, no. I know her.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, yeah, I'm that cop when they show up. They're like, oh, God, he's going to piss somebody off and everything's calm. But I'm also that cop when I went there and they're like, oh, this dude's going to run in the woods. He always runs. And I done talked the dude into the back of the car to go to the hospital, get a psych check, like, voluntarily. And they're like, how'd you do that? I was like, just, practice.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, I'm that cop though, but it's been fun. It's been a good career, I guess. It's just, I told somebody, I said, it's about time to go. I'm a dinosaur now. Definitely a dinosaur cop.
Yeah, it doesn't take long to get there. It seems like one day you're just, I always used to say, the longer you're around, the less people you know, and all of a sudden you look around one day and you're kind of in the minority of people that you know around there, because a lot of people have, moved on, retired, all that stuff. And depending on the size of your organization, man, you may or may not know too many people that are out there working.
Well, it's like, I remember, coming up, and remember the older guys, I'm like, I remember, I was rip running, you couldn't slow me down. I was, chasing bad guys, jumping over fences, doing all kind of stupid crap. Now I'm like, yeah, I'm not chasing it. Could have warned on them or something, I'm like, I'm not too old to be jumping over a damn fence. I've been run over a few times. I've been over the hood of 2 cars and that motorcycle and stuff like that. My body, I try to tell these youngsters, I said, look, take care of your body. You can come out here and abuse it and stuff. Take care of it, because the shit starts hurting about your mid-40s in this job. I mean, I'm pretty sure I got to go back to the doctor because it stopped for a while. But like I'm right-handed, right where I wear my duty belt on my right hip and my leg area, and my thigh. Out thigh, it just goes numb on me, and it's got to where I could deal with the numbness. Now it got to where I feel like I was on fire. It woke me up out of sleep. I said, I got tell me what kind of freaking nerve damage I've done to myself wearing 30 pounds around my waist for 30 years.
I've heard that some people have really gotten some good benefit out of chiropractors.
I might have to do something because I definitely got some nerve stuff going on down there, and it can be uncomfortable at times, like especially when it wakes you up out of dead sleep.
Mm-hmm.
They need to. I know they've got all kind of new stuff coming out. I've seen some like on the back of the duty belts, like real wide and stuff like that. What?
Yeah, I've heard some people that they have the suspenders that are actually kind of underneath the shirt that kind of help out with those things to alleviate some of that pressure off the backs. I've heard some friends talk about that, in the past couple of years that kind of helped them out.
Yeah, I think it might have helped a little bit if I, like I said, wouldn't have got run over twice, and most of 20-something years of my career is on a motorcycle, so I had zero back support, didn't have nothing to lean up against, so
Yeah.
that didn't help any. So I don't know if you plan on writing any books or anything, or you just gonna.
No, I keep myself busy outside of the new job. The sex crime stuff, I had a lot of success doing using one of the tactics called controlled calls. So I kind of stay engaged with teaching that stuff because I go to several of the local advanced law enforcement academies that they have, and where I'll team up with a partner, and I'll present just some instruction on controlled calls and be able to kind of parlay that knowledge onto other folks, if you will. And that keeps me pretty busy. I enjoy doing that because I'm sharing stuff that helped me out. And there was I give an example when I do that instruction. I like to start it off by saying, what happens with a case if you don't have a witness and you have no physical evidence when somebody's making a complaint? What are our chances of getting that prosecuted? And most people are probably going to say there's not much of a chance, if any at all, right?
Yeah.
And so I go through there and I walk through a case exemplar of how just a simple phone call was enough to can get a life sentence out of something. And kind of talk about the tactics to do with that. So I hope to kind of share some of that knowledge kind of on the side, and also with the stuff I'm doing now and talking about crime center programs, about how that kind of changed my job day in and day out at my agency, and share that knowledge with people. And, like I said, that kind of really keeps me connected to folks, I guess.
So you working full time at other places, or just kind of like part time?
Yeah, I'm working full time. So, it gives me the chance to kind of get out and meet a lot of people from several different areas around the United States. So,
well, you were doing SRO, so you were used to the 8 hours. I said, still putting in that 40 a week, though.
Oh yeah. Sometimes a little bit more when it's needed, but it's been a good transition. The stress is just different. It's a different stress, But
and 2 paychecks are nice, huh?
That definitely helps. Yeah. And I'll tell you, if it's one of those things that kind of helps you. If you were never really strong at saving early in your life, it gives you a chance working these kind of jobs a lot of times to kind of play catch up, if you will, to kind of prep yourself for real retirement.
Oh yeah. Well, man, I appreciate you coming on. I think we had a good conversation. I love just shooting the shit with people. So, and I appreciate you. No, I'm kind of glad. I didn't want too many funny stories out of kids. I mean, I've got a couple, but I had a kid ask me what I was doing at school one time. Told him to eat lunch with him, and he's like, "Well, what you gonna eat? We ain't got no donuts." Like me, you little bastard. Your parents are felons, aren't they? Out of the mouths of babes. But no, I appreciate it. I love meeting other people. One of my co-hosts Wednesday night, he's down in Tampa. He's not in law enforcement no more. He got out, and he's in Tampa. Where is it? I forget where at, but anyway, he's in the Tampa area where he lives at now. So, like I said, I appreciate it. If you need anything, you got my number. You ever get away in Louisiana, give me a holler. We'll eat lunch or something.
You never know. You just never know. And if I find myself that way, I'll reach out to you definitely. We can shake hands in person.
Yeah, just save my number there, man, and you be safe.
All right, you take care of yourself. Stay safe out there.
All right, thank you.
All right, take care.
Well, everybody, I appreciated him. I hope y'all enjoyed it. I always love talking to other law enforcement people, especially. It's very hard to get guests on, and That's the hardest thing. If you know any cops that can, because a lot of them can't because of departmental policies. And I didn't mean to do that. I'm trying to pull up something. Trying to pull up the Patreon stuff and set off that. I'm gonna shout the Patreons out real quick, and y'all don't forget Monday. I don't know if Freebird's gonna be here or not. I think he might still be out of town, and might just be me and Ostera, or we might actually get the box again. We never know. But we got Stacy McClendon, our hang around. We got Alex Owens, full crew member, Kelly Meyer, Mr. Jared Nitrous, Motor Cop for Life, Mr. William Gibo, Dan Crossman with Burley Boards. You go check Burley Boards out. Get you one of them handmade cutting boards. And we always say, good for spanking your kids, spanking your wife, or beating the shit out of a bad guy. We got our favorite truck driver, Mr. Hoppy Hopperson. We got Blake Walker. We got A. Ron from I Had to Say It podcast. We got Mr. Z Palmer. We got Roy Spalding, Roy with the S. We got our favorite girl from Down Under, JoJo. We got Miss Kaylee Norris and Natasha A. from the great state of Washington. Appreciate every single one of y'all. And everybody stay safe. Watch your back. Watch your partner's back. And remember, we are lions.
Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Yo, I got a lot of shit to say, so I'ma do this every day. I'll be writing things until I